Well, hey, everybody, welcome to Our Watch. I'm Tim Thompson. A young girl was murdered by an illegal alien, and then we know where's these illegal aliens? They're just set free back out on our streets. We're going to be talking about that today and many more things. I want to welcome to the program today Mark Anthony. Mark is the with the Voice of Reason Network. It's going to be launching next month. Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Tim. I really appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. And, you know, I hear this news about a girl being murdered by illegal aliens, and my heart breaks for her family, and my heart breaks for this nation, because we have an invasion going on at our southern border, and this is something that all American citizens need to be concerned with. Talk to us about this young lady that was murdered.
Yeah, I think that this is somebody that just anybody across America can relate to. This is your sister, your daughter, your friend, granddaughter, whatever, who was in her last year of nursing school and decided to go for a simple jog, Tim, and was assaulted. And assaulted is just being very kind. I'm censoring what happened. Her skull was crushed in by this illegal alien that came from Venezuela in a gang that's only formed in the prisons there, and was released in the state of Georgia, was released in another state. So he came in contact with law enforcement twice, was released, was deported twice as well. And I have to just say this right now, that Joe Biden has blood on his hands, along with Secretary Mayorkas and the rest of that administration, because as he's walking around in front of the cameras saying he needs the power, Tim, you know why we know he has the power? Because he spent the first 3 days of his presidency reversing everything that President Trump did. And that is why we had almost close to 20 million illegal aliens. I know the rest of the press are calling them migrants. They're illegal aliens. By entering this country, they have already broken a federal law by breaking our immigration policy, haven't they? And by coming here, we can expect nothing less than breaking more laws, like murdering a defenseless young girl who only wanted to go into the world and help people by being a nurse. And she's gone. She's gone. Right. And that's yet another story of an American citizen being slaughtered by an illegal alien, or then again, count fentanyl into that as well, as we let drugs come through the border to kill our citizens. And that's been happening every day since Joe Biden came into office. And the reason I'm so emotional is that every time I see that story, I am brought to tears. And I think that anybody that has followed this story would be too. That young girl should be the centerpiece of this presidential campaign, because there is nothing better than to say her name, Laken Riley, who is now dead, because Joe Biden doesn't care.
You know, I want to get your take on something. I sent about this southern border problem we've got. I sent an email to Alex Padilla, and he responded back to me. This is a senator out of the state of California. This was his response, and I want to get your take on it. He said this to me. He said, Secretary Mayorkas has been responsive, thoughtful, and determined when it comes to the safety and security of our homeland.
Yeah. Well, actually, my counter to that is that Secretary Mayorkas has committed perjury in front of Congress countless times, lied to the American people, and said the border was operationally secure, when the entire time people have been waltzing literally through the border and been trying to find border agents. Why? Because then they'll process you and give you free stuff until you have a court date in 10 years. That is a complete lie. And you know what? During the time before I stopped my show when I had to have back surgery, I had 3 members of Congress on my show, who I'll name right now because they've already embarrassed themselves. Don Bacon, and let's see, Ken Buck, and there's one other I'm forgetting, who over the last 3 years, I had them on the show while millions were coming through, and asked them what they were going to do about the invasion. And they told me that it wasn't an invasion because they weren't armed. Guess what? They are armed, because they're coming through the southern border, Chinese nationals with arms from the CPC. So that's been happening for the last 3 years. So that's another lie. We have leaders, actually, that look the other way when hard decisions need to be made, and when they need to stand up and literally stand in front of the White House and tell the president to do his job. We know he has the power to fix this almost instantaneously by reversing the EOs that he reversed, right? By letting the Trump policies come back into effect, stay in Mexico, and and no more catch and release, and pretending these people are going to show up in 10 years for a court date. Do you want to bet on that? Because I don't. I would never bet on that. So we are literally doing an honor system with people that are coming from all over the world that don't respect our culture nor our laws, that we think that in 10 years they're going to show up in a court. And that's not happening. And even furthermore, the American people in this country don't have the infrastructure to take 20 million new people. And we don't have the resources for 20 million new dependents either.
Right. You said prior to this talk, you were telling me that you're concerned for our nation's future. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm concerned for our nation's future because I continuously watch this nation elect people that really are a direct reflection of the electorate. We allow these leaders to be unaccountable, to go and do whatever they want, to enrich themselves rather than looking out for the American public and the districts they represent. And now we see what happens, which is the game in Washington, D.C., that somebody walks in there worth $500,000, and after 3 terms, they're worth $15 million. Something is seriously wrong there. They're not there to go become millionaires. The founders did not intend that. What we want are people that have already been a success, that are going there to lend their expertise and their knowledge to helping the country. We don't want on-the-job training for somebody that's never led anything and they're professional campaigners. And I could name both people that are like that on both sides of the aisle that don't belong in their respective seats, that all they do is campaign, raise money, and then chair when they win, but don't do anything for the party agenda. To take a look at the conservatives we have right now, people that didn't vote to impeach Mayorkas for one reason or another, and I can't see how they would ever choose to do that, or the others on that side that needed to be unified because we have razor thin margins right now and we can't get anything done or stand up to Joe Biden and the agenda that I don't think anybody that's listening right now will disagree that everything that he's doing, while he is incompetent, this is all purposeful. So the reason I'm concerned for this nation is that we have slipped so far from what our founding fathers intended for us to be as a nation. That shining city on a hill is dimming. That light is almost gone. And the reason being, number one, I know you'll agree with this, we have completely walked away from God overall as a nation. And by doing so, we are not under his protection. And the other reason that we are in trouble is that we, as a nation, act on emotion. The reason Joe Biden, beyond the fact that it was fraud, got elected was out of anger, and it was an anti-Trump vote. And I hope the rest of America that did that enjoys what they put upon this nation, because I have never seen this nation in a condition that we're in right now. We are spread across the world in multiple theaters, and we're going to see China move very quickly. And I don't think this nation is prepared for what's about to happen this year. Because you know what, Tim? After what they did in 2020, you can't put anything past them between now and November.
Well, there has to be some sort of resolve. There has to be something that we can do as Americans. And I think you and I will agree on this. It has to begin with the church, because you said we are that city on a hill, that light, and the light is dimming. Well, who is the light? The light of the world, according to Jesus Christ, is the church. We are the light of the world, the salt of the earth. We are to be the salt, which is a preservative, and the light, which is a revealing agent. So how do we take back this fine nation?
Well, that's funny. A lot of people have asked me that. I was just at NRB, and I think the answer is that we need people that are as bold as those founders. Remember something about them. They put everything on the line. I mean, literally, it was their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. And the lives, and the part about the lives was serious. They were being hunted down. And if we need to be as bold as them and just literally think at this point that all bets are off. Because if we don't fight this time, it's not just about voting, Tim, and you know that. It's about being extremely involved in helping every candidate get over the finish line, because it's going to take a tectonic shift And what I mean by that is that this country really needs to turn to God again, because we depend too much on other people to take care of problems when you and I both know that God, and scripture says so, that if we turn to him, he will heal our land. And so that is the only way I think this nation will come back to be the nation that God had, the nation we have been in the past, and that God intended for us to be. Because I'll tell you this, I love the founders. We're the largest church plant in the history of the world because of the Pilgrims. And this country means something because those men followed God. And if we just turned around and looked at the blueprint they left us, we'll turn around, we'll see almost instantly this country will turn around. But in the meantime, it's no surprise that there's no definition of right or wrong, because everything's subjective now, right? So we need to get back to him. Yeah.
We need to, but I agree wholeheartedly. But in the meantime, we have an election coming up. What do you think Americans can expect from this election cycle?
I think that we can expect, if we were to look at what happened in 2020, and I would call that the year of chaos, I would expect that we're going to see chaos and propaganda, and we're going to watch the other side do everything possible, pull every possible string to win. And they will win at all costs. So I'll tell you this, I've said this before when I've been on TV and radio. We need to stop bringing, in that one of my favorite movies is Untouchables. And that line, we need to stop bringing a knife to a gunfight. We need to get down and dirty. We need to fight for this country, because I'm telling you right now, as God is my witness, this is our last election. If we don't get this right, there's no coming back from what we've already experienced the last 3 years. And that is for sure. And don't think for a moment, ladies and gentlemen, if they can go after former President Donald Trump, they will come after the Christians. They already are. People have been arrested standing in front of Planned Parenthood simply by praying. Why? Because they know that alone is the most powerful tool we have.
Yeah.
So that's my advice to the American people.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I want to take a note from that and just say this to anybody who's watching: is you have to challenge your pastors. The pastors are the leaders in the church, and they need to lead people in the correct direction. Pastors are saying, I don't want to get involved in that. It's politics. Listen, these aren't political issues. These are biblical issues. Life is not politics. Gender is not politics. Marriage isn't politics. Even the border isn't politics. All of these things God has much to say about. The pastors need to get engaged. I'll give the audience a really easy way to challenge your pastor, because the Bible says that we're supposed to pray for everybody who's in authority.
Right.
Ask your pastor, are you supposed to pray for the people who are in authority? Guarantee you he's going to say yes. Say, okay, let me ask you something, Pastor. Who are the 5 members of our school board? What are their names and what are their prayer requests? And how are you praying for them? If he can't answer that, he's not doing his job as a pastor. So we need to get the pastors engaged. They need to be leading people in the right direction. Let me give you one final word, Mark. We're running out of time. What do you want to say to my audience today?
You know what I want to say is that I think that this is a time for people to really, I think people feel stirred right now, and they feel like something ominous is going to happen in this year. And I want to tell you that I agree with you. And what I want to say is, more than anything, what has saved this country in the past is prayer. If you go back and look, when this country's been in trouble during the Revolutionary War and every other time when we've been challenged, we've been here before, believe it or not. Also, I want to say, we just this time need to understand that the forces of evil are everywhere. We have woke churches, which I'm sure you'll agree with. We have pastors that won't talk about the tough issues and take a stand on trans issues and all the other things that are bombarding our society. And one thing's for sure, you need to make sure you have a good pastor. If the pastor you have right now is not talking about what's going on in this country, find another church. If they're not taking a stand, a biblical stand, then find another church. If they're more worried about affecting the offering plate than telling the gospel, find another church. Because let me say this right now, is we all need to be prayed up and ready for battle, because this is not just a political battle for this country. I'll finish with this. It's a spiritual battle. And 39 out of the 56 founders all had seminary degrees. So don't tell yourself that people of faith can't be involved in this government. It was from the beginning a Christian nation, and it still is.
Right. Amen to that. All right. So, Mark Anthony, how can people follow you and get more information from you?
Yeah, you can find me at patriotpreachershow.com. And in about a month, A brand new network is being started by a Christian conservative called Voice of Reason, America's Town Hall Network. We're going to be doing 40 town halls across the country, mostly in battleground states, so people start talking about the issues and stop being misguided by misinformation. So that's what we're going to be doing.
All right. Well, Mark Anthony, thank you so much for joining us today. And I also want to thank everybody who's tuned in. I want to ask you, if you like this video, please like it, share it, give it out to your friends, your family, your neighbors. Also, head over to ourwatch.com, subscribe, become one of our watchmen. We'd really appreciate that. As you know, all the social media platforms are always trying to kick us off. The best way to get good, true information into your life is becoming one of our watchmen. Again, ourwatch.com. We'll see you next time right here on Our Watch with Tim Thompson.